Supervisor Kennett.
Here.
Councilman Fidelli.
Here.
Councilman Cash.
Here.
Councilman Midwood.
Here.
Councilwoman Morrison. Here. All here.
Thank you. You all received a copy of the agenda. I'd like to make one change to the agenda, which is to delete the minutes of the town board's workshop meeting of August 26th. They're not quite ready. With that one change, could I have a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by John Midwood.
Second.
Second by George Fay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Should never start my comments with I have a number of things which I want to announce before we get into the meeting. First of all, on the very good news front, the town received a notice of a grant, a municipal investment grant from Dutchess County in the amount of $250,000 towards the construction of the new town highway garage. This is something that I submitted an application for, and we have been badgering our county officials, and happy that we've gotten that. That will help as we work towards financing of the garage, which we'll talk about later. We also received the first tranche of our ARPA money. This is the funds which were allocated by Congress to towns, counties all over the country. It's going to be distributed in two halves. So we've got the first half, which is $103,000. It's been placed in a town account and will be used for water, wastewater, or broadband activities. We also got there was a follow-up amount, which was a distribution of ARPA money from towns that turned it down. And it's pretty amazing to think that some towns decided they didn't want it, but we got an extra $400 out of that. This weekend, there is going to be some educational programs put on by our Climate Smart Community Task Force focused on wetlands. It's on Saturday at 4 p.m. There will be a virtual panel, a Zoom panel, with Gretchen Stevens from Hudsonia, Julie Hart from the Dutchess Land Conservancy, and Mike Jastrzemski from HVA. On Sunday, there will be a guided walk on the rail trail up near Red Pond Road at 10 a.m. and that will last not more than an hour. Both information about both of those things can be found on the Climate Smart website, which is climatesmartmillerton.org. I am continuing, speaking of the rail trail, I'm continuing to make progress on identifying some land off of Red Pond Road for a parking lot so that people can access the trail. As most everybody knows, there is no public parking access between the village and Under Mountain Road. So that's a really, really long stretch of the trail with no safe authorized public parking. So stay tuned on that one. Dutchess County has announced some emergency assistance for businesses and individuals who suffered damages in the most recent hurricane, most recent storm. If there are individuals or businesses that suffered significant physical damages to their property, there is going to be state and federal assistance to those, and information about that can be found on the Dutchess County website. There will be in the village and to some extent in the town a food festival on September 18th, which is a week from this Saturday. There will be a lot of activity. I think there's going to be a lot of social media notices about it. There will be food tents and different businesses featuring different types of foods. So I think you can expect the village to be even more crowded than normal a week from this Saturday. That's it for my, since I've gotten all of my announcements. There will be a bulk trash day. Well, I'm going to come to bulk trash day. There will be, the Climate Smart group is going to be sending out a link in the next week for a survey monkey to gauge residents' concerns and stories of past weather-related emergencies that we could document for the Climate Smart Task Force. Okay. Department committee reports. I sent a notice to village police. I have not received any report from them. Bob?
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you have a report for the board?
it's time to advertise for sealed bids for 2022 for sand, gravel, blacktop, fuel, and other highway-related materials. And I was looking for authorization from the board to advertise those sealed bids.
Okay. Is there a motion to authorize Bob to advertise for bids for those items?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Is that?
The oil and stone project went very well, the roads look good. And the Mill Road West Street paving project will start this coming Tuesday.
Okay. And that's Mill Road from West Street down to Downey Road?
No, it's down to the Walsh residence.
Okay. All right, great. It needs it.
It does.
That's great. Thank you, Bob. Is that it?
That's all I have.
Okay. Assessor, Catherine.
Hi, thank you. The only thing I have is that one of our Board of Assessment Review members' terms is expiring at the end of this month. It's the term, a 5-year term of Beverly Tully. She's been a great asset to the board, and she is willing to take on another 5-year term. So I'd ask the board to reappoint her if you would like.
I would like to. She's been a very diligent member of that board, and it's wonderful that she's willing to continue. Could I have a motion to reappoint
Beverly Tully, and that term would be
Beverly Tully to a 5-year term on the Board of Assessment Review?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Could we do a roll call on this one?
We didn't do one on Bob.
Actually, I think for this, a motion is sufficient.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. The board has received reports from the Planning, Zoning, and Building Department. Town Board Committee activity. George, do you want to say anything about the highway garage? If anything?
There's not a lot to say right at the moment. We're kind of waiting for some information to come in so that we can make some decisions on what changes might be possible to make on the garage. And we'll be looking forward to putting out another RFP the end of the year, this year, the beginning of next year, hopefully for some better bids than we received before. Right now, that's about it.
Well, I know that some construction material prices have started to subside, so we are hoping that that will have an impact. Thank you, George. The Personnel Committee does not have a report, but we have put on the website that we are entertaining applications for persons interested in serving as town clerk. The town board has the ability to appoint somebody to that position for the next 16 months, 15 and a half months. And I am receiving applications for people who are interested in that. In the meantime, I'm very grateful to Marcy for stepping up and being able to be here tonight. Is there a police committee report?
Well, Ralph and I, we are the members
Yeah.
that represent the town, part of the police committee, and we have met and had some discussions. We have reached out to the two trustees that represent the village portion of the committee. And right now, we're waiting to hear back from them so that we can set an agenda and a meeting date and time, hopefully within this month,
Okay,
moving forward with that.
great. Thank you. Okay, now getting into the various items we have. The first one is a resolution authoring me to execute a financial advisory services agreement with a consulting firm called Fiscal Advisors and Marketing, Inc. As the town looks at its financing needs for the highway garage, it's very clear that we could benefit from some professional assistance in looking at our capital structure, our creditworthiness, and so on, and assisting us in placing a bond when we do go to place a bond for the construction of the third and final phase of the highway garage. I've reached out to a number of firms, which on the recommendation of our bond counsel, that provide advisory services to towns, and the firm of Fiscal Advisors and Marketing is very well placed. It was highly recommended by our bond counsel. I have talked to other supervisors in the county. They're really well known. They work in New York State principally. And I have a resolution authorizing me to execute a contract with them. Their contract is in the amount of $9,500. That amount is not payable until a bond is placed, and it can be paid out of the proceeds of the bond. Are there any questions from the board about this?
No.
No? In that event, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second. Okay, you wanted, that was John Midwood, second.
Okay, he's second.
Okay, you wanted to conduct a roll call?
Yes, roll call. Okay, Supervisor Cannon,
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli,
Aye.
Councilman Carr,
Aye.
Councilman Woodward,
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. The second item on our agenda is a resolution to accept a local law permitting the town of Northeast to exceed the New York State tax cap, and to set a public hearing for the October town board meeting. As the board is very familiar, we have regularly passed this in order to have flexibility when it comes to our budget. We always hope to produce a budget that is under the tax cap, but with the cost increases that we've seen, it is not easy. So it is important to have that flexibility. So I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Ralph Fidelli, seconded by George Kay. Okay.
Okay, roll call. Okay, Supervisor Kenny,
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli,
Aye.
Councilman Kay,
Aye.
Councilman Midwood,
Aye.
Councilwoman Larson.
Aye.
Thank
And
you.
there we have it.
Can you set a time for the public hearing?
Yes, that's a good point. Why don't we say 7:20? And that would be on October 14th, 2021 at 7:20 p.m. I've received from our assessor the Water District Benefit Assessment Roll. And I would like to present it to the board. We will have a public hearing on the benefit assessment roll also in our October meeting. And I would propose that hearing be at 7:25 on October 14th. Could I have a motion to accept the Water District Benefit Assessment Roll?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, we have now come to the proposed laws concerning cannabis. As the board will recall at our last meeting, we passed a resolution, and I can describe the New York State regulations about this, so can Warren, but the town is asked to decide whether to opt into permitting cannabis dispensaries and smoking lounges in the town. Those are two separate items. If the town does nothing, the town is automatically opted in, and when those entities are actually authorized and licensed by the state, they would be free to set up business here in the town. The town may not use its zoning powers. Once we are opted in, we may not use our zoning powers to prevent them from opening. The town board at its last meeting voted to opt out of permitting those. If the town votes, as we did to opt out, that provides the town with the flexibility after the end of the year to opt in. So it's really keeping the options open for the town, and provides an opportunity for the town to see what the more detailed regulations are going to be coming from New York State. So I think the first thing we will do is to open the hearing on these local laws, and I would propose that we start with a hearing on the local law opting out of allowing cannabis retail dispensaries as authorized under New York State Cannabis Law, Article 4. Could I have a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
Ralph.
Second.
Second, John.
John?
Okay.
Okay. roll call.
Roll call?
Okay, Supervisor Kennedy,
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli,
Aye.
Councilman Katz,
Aye.
Councilman Midwood,
Aye.
and Councilwoman Morrison.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, the hearing is now open, and members of the public who would like to make comments or address the board are welcome to do so. There's a lectern up here, and I would ask those who would like to do so just to give your name and where you live before you speak. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Meg Bertrand Montclair. I live at 338 Winchell Mountain Road. And I do support the town opting out at this moment until we have more regulations in the state. However, I am for when they are announced and we study it. I am for dispensaries in the town of Northeast versus the village in Millerton, although I know we don't have control of that. As for the zoning areas, I would love to see them if they were in places where more high traffic could be, like in Boulevard East or in Irondale area, or maybe south of the village on 22. I also would love to, if there was ever possible, to have dispensaries off of farms that are growing cannabis, because I think that would be a nice connection to people to understand where it's coming from. And then the other thing, I don't know if it's possible until we have all the regulations, but maybe if our area could have like a quota of the maximum amount of dispensaries that we would allow in our population or in our land mass. So that was it.
Okay, thank you, Meg.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christian Cooper. I live on Barton Street, and just to piggyback off of what Meg was saying, I do think because of the nature of the regulations, the somewhat unknown nature of them at this point, I would support an opt-out, but like Meg said, I would support dispensaries within the town. I think there's avenues for potentially critical tax revenue that could become available to us. I think the residents of Northeast are pretty avid for some new business in the town, and I think there's at least an avenue for that with dispensaries. However, I think the board needs to really concentrate on the delineation between dispensaries and consumption. I think that's where the divide is, and I think a lot of research still needs to be going into it. And however, if there's a hard cap, a hard revenue projection that would feel sustainable to the town, I think opting in for dispensaries is the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ray Nelson. I also live on Barton Street. I am opposed to the idea of, I'm glad you're opting out initially, until we know more. I don't see how this is an improvement to the town as far as, appearance, I think that the research I've done, I was kind of surprised to see, frankly, that it was not as the impact it had on the state of Colorado, for example, was negative, but not extremely negative. I was expecting to have much worse reports, but there is a consistent negative in things in school children and exposure to younger adults and driving accidents are up a little bit. There's, it wasn't a, I was expecting much worse. I actually had some statistics go down. I don't know if that's because people opted into cannabis instead of alcohol. I'm not sure what the driving force was there, but I think that I'm not sure why. I don't see how we're actually benefiting. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not sure how the state may get some revenue. We have one more little business going to bring some tax into town. I'm not sure how that's a huge benefit to us as a community. There must be some other businesses that we would prefer to have. So anyway, my vote is no.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to comment at this time on this first law? If not, I would entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Val,
Second.
second by Alana.
Roll call.
Yep.
Supervisor Kenny.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Carey.
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison.
Aye.
Okay. We can either move on this law at this time, follow that with a hearing on smoking guns, or we can do the hearing first. Do you have any suggestion for us?
Well, why don't we just do quickly go through the environmental review? So, if I could suggest we could do the public hearing for the second local law, and then we'll just do a quick environmental review for both, before we take a vote.
Right.
That'd be easier, logistically.
Okay. So we will open a hearing on the resolution adopting a local law entitled "A Local Law Opting Out of Allowing On-Site Cannabis Consumption Sites as Authorized under New York State Cannabis Law Article 4." Could I have a motion to open that hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Lana Morrison,
Second.
second by George K.
Roll call.
Yep.
Okay, Supervisor Kenny.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Carey.
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
And Councilwoman Morrison.
Aye.
Okay. The hearing is now open on cannabis consumption sites and the local law opting out of allowing them in the town of Northeast. Would anybody like to speak on that?
Like Bertrand Winkler, Winchell Mountain Road, so I do support us also opting out of this portion, this law. However, if this comes open again, I am against smoking lounges in the town of Northeast and the village.
Okay. Thank you.
I feel like I've already said what I probably should say on this, but I, like Meg again, am for more research on dispensaries. However, I think, as was said before, the on-site consumption is where we really get into the cultural and sort of fabric of the town. And of course, health risks come into play with on-site consumption as well. So I really would be in favor of opting out of on-site consumption.
Thank you.
Nice from here.
Yep.
All right, so everybody else, and I would just agree with everyone that just said that.
Ditto.
All right. Thank you, Ray. Anyone else on on-site consumption? If not, I will entertain a motion to close the hearing. Do I have a motion to close this hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Ralph,
Second.
second by Lynn Morrison.
Okay, roll call. Supervisor Cannon.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Kay.
Aye.
Councilman Windward.
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, the hearing is closed. Now what, Warren?
So, in an abundance of caution, we made this subject to environmental review. I think there's a good argument to be made that it's exempt from environmental review because both of these laws conceivably have any impact on the environment, but I did it anyway. So I prepared a part 2 and full environmental assessment form for both laws and took the liberty of answering question in the negative that it will not have, either law will not have any impact on the environment. So rather than going through each one of the issues, if we could just make have a motion to adopt what we call a negative declaration, indicating that neither local law will have the potential for any significant environmental impact, and that a draft in the environmental impact statement need not be prepared for either local law.
That certainly makes sense to me. Any comment from the board as to accepting this is the short form?
Oh, it's actually a long form.
The long form.
It's actually easier to do a long form for a local law than it is a short form.
But to accept the environmental impact statement as described by our attorney.
So moved.
No.
Second.
Second.
Second by Lana Morrison. Okay.
Okay.
And find one to
Which one's next?
anyone.
Are we doing cannabis?
Yeah, you can do the cannabis, you can do another set of lines over here, and this will be on the environmental impact statement.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna have a roll call on this? Okay. Supervisor Cannon.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Kay.
Aye.
Councilman Windward.
Aye.
And Councilwoman Morrison.
Aye.
Okay.
So basically, we're at a point now where you can take a vote on each local law. Again, if you adopt the local laws, you'll be opting out of allowing for retail cannabis sales and for lounges within the town. It's not an irrevocable decision. If you opt out, you can always opt in at a later date. If you don't opt out, you can never opt out. You can never opt out at a later time. So if you don't do it, it'll be considered opting in, and that's forever.
So we have two proposed laws.
Two proposed. One would be opting out of allowing retail, and the other, the lounges. If you decide that you are not going to opt out, if you don't pass the local law, then you'll be opting in, and the town would have to then pass regulations within a certain period of time, in the next year or two, changing our zoning code to allow for the siting and regulation of those facilities within the town. If you opt out, they're not permitted at this point. We don't have to worry about that. You can always revisit the issue next year.
So we have two resolutions, one for the retail sales and the other for the on-site smoking. What I'm proposing is to read the resolution for the first one. The second one is virtually identical, except that
Second one's identical, except it relates to the
right.
last.
So what I think I will do is I'll read the first one, and we'll then take a vote on that one. So the first one is adopting a local law for the year 2021, entitled "The Local Law Opting Out of Allowing Cannabis Retail Dispensaries as Authorized under New York State Cannabis Law, Article 4. Whereas on March 31, 2021, Governor Andrew Cuomo signed the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, legalizing adult use cannabis, as known as marijuana, recreational marijuana, in New York State. The legislation creates a new Office of Cannabis Management, OCM, governed by a Cannabis Control Board to oversee and implement the law, and then collectively referred to as OCM. The OCM will issue licenses and develop regulations outlining how and when businesses can participate in the new industry. The OCM will also oversee the state's existing medical marijuana program and cannabinoid hemp program previously regulated by the Department of Health. And whereas the New York State law provides that towns can opt out of allowing adult use cannabis retail dispensaries and/or on-site consumption facilities from locating within their jurisdiction, but to do so, the municipality must pass a local law by December 31, 2021. And if the town fails to do so, the town will be unable to opt out at a future date. And whereas the town of Northeast Town Board has determined that it is in the best interest of the town of Northeast to opt out of on-site retail dispensaries within its jurisdiction, and whereas this opt-out determination does not prohibit consumption and possession of cannabis by individuals for production and distribution, as these elements are regulated by New York State law. And whereas whatever action the town takes, the legislation of the town will not constitute support or endorsement of marijuana use within the town, and that such activities are strictly regulated by New York State law. And whereas this opt-out determination, while prohibiting cannabis retail dispensaries, does not prevent the town from opting in to allow such facilities at a later date. And whereas the town board has studied the issues in the proposed local law with the assistance of the town attorney and has determined that the proposed local law is in the best interest of the town of Northeast. And whereas the town attorney has drafted a proposed local law, and whereas the town board has determined to move forward with the adoption of said proposed local law with full reservation of rights as a legislative act of the town board, and whereas the town board has determined that this is an unlisted action under secret. However, because there are no other involved agencies, the town board shall serve as lead agency for the secret review of this action and shall prepare the appropriate secret documentation and analysis. And whereas the town board determined that the local law is acceptable for purposes of undertaking a local law adoption process, including but not limited to preparing the appropriate secret material, making the requisite referrals, and hearing from the public and other interested parties. And whereas by resolution dated August 12th, 2021, the town board accepted the said local law and scheduled a public hearing on said local law for September 9th, 2021 at 7:20 p.m. And whereas the town board duly opened the public hearing on September 9th, 2021 and took testimony from the public and closed the public hearing on that date. And whereas the town board on September 9th, 2021 reviewed part 2 of the full environmental impact assessment form and determined that this action did not have the potential for any significant environmental impacts, and that as a result, a draft environmental impact statement need not be prepared. And whereas the town board has determined that it is in the best interest of the citizens of the town of Northeast to opt out of the state law allowing cannabis retail dispensaries as authorized under New York State Cannabis Law, Article 4, now therefore be it resolved that the town board adopts local law, and we'll give it a number, of the year 2021, entitled "A Local Law Opting Out of Allowing Cannabis Retail Dispensaries as Authorized under New York State Cannabis Consumption Law, Article 4, and be it further resolved that this local law is subject to a permissive referendum in accordance with Cannabis Law number 131 and the procedure outlined in Municipal Home Rule Law number 24, and that if a referendum is required, it shall be conducted by special election.
Just to explain that, the resolution does not You can pass the resolution tonight, but there's a 45-day period. If a petition for a referendum is filed within that time period, the town would have to conduct a special election. If nothing is filed within the 45-day period, then the local law is final and deemed adopted.
So, having heard that recitation, do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So,
Second.
Okay,
Motion by
first.
George Kane,
Okay.
seconded by
First.
Leanna Morrison.
Okay, second. Okay, roll call, right? Okay. Supervisor Kennedy,
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli,
Aye.
Councilman Kay,
Aye.
Councilman Midwood,
Nay.
okay, and Councilwoman Morrison.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, now we are turning to the local law regarding on-site cannabis consumption sites. The environmental impact
We're done with that.
is the same.
Identical, the resolution except it relates to the lounges, not the retail.
Okay. So we've done that.
We don't have to read it.
We don't, okay. We don't have to vote on it. We
You
did.
don't have to vote on it.
Oh, okay.
Chris, I'm going to make a comment on this. So I originally voted nay on the on-site consumption lounges as well. But after talking with folks in the town and also this public hearing, I've learned that there's more of a desire in the town for a dispensary, less for an on-site lounge. So I'll be voting in favor of opting out of this particular law. But just want to say that.
Okay. I'm not sure I caught the last. You
So,
said you-
No, I just wanted to clarify that I initially voted nay on this law,
Oh, okay.
but after talking with more folks in the town and listening to the public hearing, I am going to be voting aye for this law.
So first we should have a vote then to accept the environmental assessment form.
We did that already.
Oh, okay. In that case,
We're not with the environment.
All right.
That was a quick-
I'm not going to read this resolution. It is identical to the one I just did read, with the exception that it refers to on-site smoking lounges and not to retail sales. So, could I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Motion by Ralph,
Okay. Second, somebody?
Second.
second by Glenn Morrison.
Okay, roll call. Supervisor Kennedy,
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli,
Aye.
Councilman Kay,
Aye.
Councilman Midwood,
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
You're good?
Very good.
Good match.
Thank you. Every year we have we have approved a soccer contract with Weebatuck Valley Youth Soccer League. This is something we've done for, I believe quite a long time. George, you would be familiar with this.
more like.
And they play down in Amelia, but there's significant participation from residents of the town in the village, and I think it's a fine thing that we support this. I would entertain a motion to approve my signing the agreement with Weebatuck Valley Youth Soccer League to support the soccer contract.
So moved.
Motion by George Day.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. The next two items are ones which have been prepared and supported by the town's Climate Smart Communities Task Force. This is, I think as the board is very familiar, this task force was formed 3 years ago, I think at this point, it's probably in 2018, when George, when you first mentioned that this was a program of New York State that had the potential to provide significant grant money to the town for programs which enhance the town's ability to be aware of the impact of climate change and to mitigate the effects of climate change. The first actions that we undertook as part of this were actions directed at the town and the village, which they're doing separately. So we are in the process of measuring our greenhouse gas emissions to see what they are. We know how much gas and diesel we use for town vehicles, but we don't know how much they contribute to in the way of greenhouse gas emissions. We know how much electricity we use for town hall, but this is a process of quantifying actually our impact greenhouse gas emissions. And I'm going to come to that in the next resolution. But our initial actions were all focused on the town and the town as town government. This resolution is a resolution establishing a climate education and engagement program. And this is a program to distribute information to residents about different things that people can do to lower their energy consumption, to make their properties more resilient to the effects of flooding, those kinds of things. So it's an outreach program, and it is one that is part of our Climate Smart Task Force. The items which we are working on getting to a bronze certification in this program. And getting to a bronze certification, which Dutchess County has already done, and a number of other towns in the state have already done, basically is a pat on the back, but it also gives us a higher priority for grants from the state. So this resolution, I will read it. Whereas the town of Northeast is working to achieve a bronze certification for New York State's Climate Smart Communities Initiative, and whereas education, outreach, and engagement are critical to preparing communities for the effects of climate change and to enlist the public in taking steps to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and whereas public engagement initiatives are often most effective when local governments partner with regional planning organizations and or outreach specialists who can help them reach a wide range of community stakeholders. And whereas the town of Northeast wishes to embark on a series of events and communications to engage the residents and visitors to the town of Northeast in an appreciation of the importance of both mitigation of greenhouse gas emissions as well as the importance of building resilience to the effects of climate change. And whereas Action PE9 of the Climate Change Education and Engagement is designated by New York State as a priority action for Climate Smart Communities Bronze Certification. And whereas PE9 Action Climate Change Education and Engagement requires the establishment of a program to facilitate climate education and engagement. Now therefore be it resolved that the the town of Northeast shall establish a climate change education and engagement program for the purpose of educating the public about climate change mitigation and adaptation. I resolve that the program shall be headed by 2 individuals, one of whom shall be the Northeast Millerton Climate Smart Task Force Coordinator or a designee, and one of whom shall be the Supervisor of the town of Northeast or a designee. And be it further resolved that the program shall act in accordance with the requirements of PE 9 action, climate change education and engagement, and keep records of all efforts to complete the aforementioned action. One of the requirements of the Climate Smart program is that we actually pass this resolution. So that is why it's coming to you as such a formal resolution. If there are any questions from the board, I will do my best to answer them. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to adopt it.
So moved.
Motion by George K.
Second.
Second by John.
John. All right, roll call. Supervisor Cannon.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Kettle.
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
And Councilwoman Martin.
I earlier sent the board a memorandum regarding greenhouse gas inventory and climate action plan recommendation. One of the other actions, which was actually one of the very first actions that we agreed to embark on, and for which we've been awarded a grant from the state, is to conduct a municipal greenhouse gas emissions inventory and climate action plan. So that is the process of actually collecting all of this data, which is, it's more than one thing. For instance, we have a landfill, and the landfill gives off certain gases, so that gets quantified. The electricity from town hall gets measured in terms of greenhouse gas emissions and so on, as I mentioned before. The town issued a request for proposals for this work. This is something that is done by a professional consultant. It's pretty extensive work. It results in quite a hefty report. The town of Dover has already done this. They were pretty early on this a couple of years ago. We issued an RFP for this work back in April of this year. When we received no responses to the RFP, it was reissued in June, posted on BidNet, and the town went to considerable lengths to ensure that qualified firms engaged in this type of work were made aware of the project. As a result, on August 31st, we opened bids and received proposals from 6 firms. The bids range from $19,000 to $150,000. Pretty dramatic spread. Working with Kathy Chow, our Town of Northeast Climate Smart Committee's Task Force Leader, and Village Trustee Lori Kerr, we reviewed the 3 most competitive proposals from a company called First Environment, a nonprofit called ICLEI, and a company called Tetra Tech. Unfortunately, Tetra Tech did not have the requisite expertise, so it was removed from the list. We conducted, that's Kathy Chow, Lori Kerr, and I conducted virtual meetings with the remaining 2, First Environment and ICLEI. After these meetings and further review of the materials submitted, I'm recommending that the town and village proceed with First Environment, Inc., which most clearly documented its ability to deliver municipal greenhouse gas emissions inventories and a climate action plan of the type we need. Bid from First Environment was for $19,980. They are an engineering firm based out of New Jersey with a long history in the field of greenhouse gas management. They have been, despite not being based in New York State, they've worked extensively with New York State agencies and are familiar with the requirements of the Climate Smart program. And of particular importance is the fact that they completed a successful greenhouse gas emissions inventory and climate action plan for our neighboring town of Dover, and they were highly recommended by the Dover Town Clerk, Katie Palmer House. So I have a resolution authorizing me to execute a contract with First Environment, Inc. to provide municipal greenhouse gas emissions inventory and climate action plan. Before I read that, are there any questions from the board about this? Hopefully the long memo that I gave you earlier today answered all your questions.
Chris, would you entertain a question from the public or
There's the public comment period coming right after this.
after you vote?
This is a resolution authorizing the town supervisor to execute a contract with First Environment, Inc. to provide municipal greenhouse gas emissions inventory and climate action plan. Whereas the town of Northeast is a climate smart community and is a registered climate smart community, and as part of its responsibility is required to create a climate action plan and conduct a greenhouse gas emissions inventory. And whereas the town issued an RFP for a professional environmental consultant firm qualified to provide such services to the town, and whereas the town received 6 bids from prospective environmental firms who provide such services, and whereas the town has received the bids and has determined that First Environment, Inc. has demonstrated the required ability to deliver a greenhouse gas emissions inventory and climate action plan for the town at a cost of $19,980. Now therefore be it resolved, the town supervisor is hereby authorized to execute an agreement with First Environment, Inc. acceptable to the town supervisor and the attorney of the town for such services. With that, I would entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Any further? Motion by John Midwood,
Yes.
seconded by
Ralph.
Ralph.
Okay. Roll call. Supervisor Bennett,
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli,
Aye.
Councilman Kay,
Aye.
Councilman Midwood,
Aye.
and Councilwoman Morrison.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Getting good at this. Don't let it go to your head.
Yeah, listen.
Bulk trash day. We've, residents may be aware that the village used to host bulk trash day down at the town's highway garage on South Center Street. Starting last year, the town has become the lead on bulk trash day. We would not be able to do bulk trash day if it was not for Bob Stevens, who gives his own time to make sure that everything gets into the dumpster and down below the fill level, and that people put things in the right dumpsters. And the efforts you've made, Bob, are really very much appreciated. One of the things which we have done since we started working on bulk trash day is to coordinate our bulk trash day with the county's hazardous waste disposal. And that is quite a remarkable program. People can bring all kinds of things to the county's hazardous waste disposal, including paints, various liquids, electronics, all kinds of nasty things. And it's very well organized. We have scheduled our bulk trash day for Saturday, September 25. And the timing of that is because the county's hazardous waste collection is the following week. And we've had some volunteers who've been willing to drive electronics that people have that they want to get rid of from our collection on the 25th down on South Center Street to the county's collection the following week. The county will take electronics of all types. We are not interested in transporting various liquids that we have no idea what they are, but we are able to take electronics. So bulk trash day will be on September 25th, and I hope that works with you, Bob. Public comment period. Mr. Kish.
This concerns the resolution that was just passed to authorize a greenhouse gas inventory. So first of all, you all know that I take the climate emergency very, very seriously. I think about it a lot. So the comment that I'm about to make should not be taken as in any way diminishing the importance of the work of addressing climate change. However, the question that I wanted to ask was, since you're about to spend $20,000 simply to quantify the amount of greenhouse gases that the town produces without any plan for reducing those emissions, in some cases there's nothing you can do to reduce those emissions, I would have to assume that the promise of grants from the state is going to vastly exceed that $20,000 expense. And what I'm wondering, given that we had to exceed the tax cap, et cetera, just now, what will the amount of the grants be that we expect to receive from the state, and how far out will that be? And is it a sound fiscal decision to spend the $20,000 now simply to do calculations that I believe most of the people in this room would be capable of doing, given the information necessary?
Thank you. Although this is a public comment period where we are really simply receiving comments, I would actually like to answer your question, because there is an answer for your question. The town has already been awarded a grant of $29,000, which is significantly in excess of the amount of this contract, for 3 different items, including this one, and this is the biggest one. I didn't get into a lot of detail about this contract, but it is for 3 elements, not one. The simplest and the cheapest is the actual quantification of greenhouse gas emissions. The second is a study of ways in which the town can reduce those emissions. So that is a very significant part of that. The third and the biggest piece of this is the preparation of a climate action plan for the town. And that is something which the town board and the staff really don't have the capability of doing. And it is the biggest piece of this contract by far. So that's what we're going to be embarked on. There will be during the period of this contract, which is I think less than a year, opportunities for public review of the work before it is presented to the board for approval.
I just wanted to.
Did you, Stephen?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Bill was saying, and provide some more information. One of the action items that the Climate Smart community did was work with Clean Energy Community, which is a sister program that fits in with Climate Smart. And one of the high impact action items in the Clean Energy Community was to benchmark municipal buildings. And we completed that. But when you benchmark municipal buildings, you're basically measuring energy consumption. And once you did that, you were provided tools to evaluate and then lower your energy consumption. And that didn't really cost us anything. So the town is, my point being, the town is working towards, when the money is there, we do have the tools and the knowledge to know how to reduce our energy consumption.
Any other comments for the board?
I did have a question about the town clerk's post, but I didn't know it's not a chance to have a dialogue?
No, it's really your opportunity to comment.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I would like, if possible, for our town to consider in the future for the town clerk position to not be a political position. And if that took a referendum or to the townspeople, I would like to propose that. I don't know if that would take place, since her post was not out for 15 months, if that would take place in this November or next June, but that's something I'd like to propose. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, to respond to that, the town does have the ability to place the making of a town clerk position, an appointed position rather than an elected position. The board would need to place that on the ballot, and the people of the town would have an opportunity to vote on whether to make that change. And we can do that at any time. Any other comments? If not, getting into my financial reports, I have a special abstract dated August 23rd, 2021, totaling $902,493, broken down as follows. A fund, $40,923. Capital Projects Fund, $861,570. Do I have a motion to adopt the special abstract?
Second.
Okay, we need a roll call for this,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Supervisor Kennedy.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Kay.
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
And Councilwoman Morrison.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it.
And I have a special abstract dated August 27th, 2021, totaling $582.89, broken down as follows. A fund, $582.89. Do I have a motion to accept the special abstract?
So moved.
Ralph?
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, roll call. Supervisor Kennedy.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Kay.
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
And Councilwoman Morrison.
I have an abstract dated September 9th, 2021, totaling $117,394.44, broken down as follows. A fund, $39,478.73. B fund, $592.15. DB fund, $76,278.22. T and A2 escrow, $823.10. Payroll T and A, $222.24. Could I have a motion to accept the abstract?
So
Second.
Okay, roll call. Supervisor Kennedy.
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Kay.
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison.
Aye.
The voucher committee for October will be John Midwood and Lenny Morrison. Minutes of the August board meeting were sent to you earlier last month by the town clerk, and I sent them out again to the board today. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the August 12th town board meeting? Or corrections, edits, if any?
No.
Could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Ralph?
Okay, second. Councilman Fidelli.
Aye.
Councilman Kay.
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison.
Aye.
Thank you.
That concludes, we are going to have an executive session to discuss an item with the assessor concerning litigation, but the rest of the audience is excused. Warren, I think we're probably all set.
Good.
Yep.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you for making the trip.